Imagine a world where bones are nothing but a distant memory, dissolved into the acidic embrace of future oceans. What happens when the hard age crumbles away, leaving only softness to claim the throne? Millions of years from now, relentless climate shifts have turned seawater into a corrosive soup, stripping calcium from shells and skeletons alike. Coral palaces lie in ruins, their jagged spires melting into ghostly powder. Fish that once darted with bony grace now slump into gelatinous heaps on the seafloor. Evolution, that tireless sculptor, faces its greatest challenge yet. Can life thrive without rigidity, without the armor of bone? Picture vast schools of prey scattering not with speed, but with a fluid ripple that defies capture. The end of the hard age whispers of something new stirring in the depths, something unervingly alive. As the last exoskeletons fade, translucent shapes begin to pulse in the twilight zones, hinting at empires yet to rise. These new rulers emerge not as fragile blobs, but as masters of muscle and membrane. Hydrostatic skeletons, filled with pressurized fluids, let them twist and tower where spines once stood. Think of jellyfish on steroids, their bells contracting with precision that rivals ancient predators. Structural proteins weave invisible nets, holding forms that bend but never break. In sunlit shallows, flexible filter feeders drape like living curtains, siphoning plankton from currents too swift for the rigid past. Their bodies shimmer with iridescent cells, luring prey into pulsing maws. But is this softness a gift or a curse waiting to unfold? Deeper down, where light fails, these soft empires expand unchecked, forming predatory swarms that engulf entire reefs. No crunch of shell meets their grasp, only the silent yield of flesh. Scientists once dismissed boneless life as weak, yet here it dominates, rippling with quiet menace. From lone hunters to colossal colonies, the soft bodies weave ecosystems of flesh. Pulsating reefs replace coral, their surfaces alive with symbiotic glows in alien hues. Muscle lattices span canyons, contracting in unison to channel prey like living funnels. Cooperation blooms where competition once ruled, species merging into hybrid giants. Imagine touching a wall that breathes, its warmth seeping through your glove. These biostructures hum with shared circulation, veins thick as cables pulsing blue ichor. What secrets do they guard in their endless undulations? Sonar pings reveal shadows beneath the seafloor, vast forms shifting like waking dreams. Are these natural wonders or something engineered by blind evolution? The abyss hides architects whose designs mock our understanding of life. At the heart of this boneless rain beats a unified pulse, a nervous ocean spanning horizons. Biochemical waves carry signals faster than thought, linking polyps to predators in symphony. Electric gradients flicker through water, guiding migrations without a single brain. Distributed intelligence emerges, where no one rules but all respond. Storms of neurons fire across basins, reshaping currents on whim. Could the sea itself now dream in chemicals and sparks? Explorers' logs speak of hulls humming in resonance, crews unsettled by rhythmic throbs. This collective metabolism devours energy on planetary scales, birthing phenomena we dare not name. Horror creeps in as instruments detect patterns too patterned, too aware. The ocean remembers, and it hungers for cohesion. Drones plunge into this neural web, their lights piercing veils of mystery. At first, beauty captivates. Tendrils dance in bioluminescent ballets, forms flowing like liquid mercury. But descent reveals distortions, gravity warping around throbbing cores. Membranes mimic drone shapes, inflating to match every contour with eerie accuracy. Are they curious or learning to ensnare? Currents tug with intent, pulling probes toward glowing hearts. Transmissions glitch with whispers, static laced by unfamiliar tones. Deeper still, vast eyes float untethered, pupils dilating in sync. What gazes back from the void, appraising our intrusion? The boneless era absorbs not just light, but intruders into its fold. Human probes falter as the flesh closes in, tendrils coiling with deceptive gentleness. Instruments scream overload, readings spiking like fevered thoughts. Mimicry evolves in moments, hulls reflected in rippling skins that pulse invitations. Escape seems futile against a medium that thinks as one. Glimpses of megaforms emerge, cities of muscle drifting through trenches. Do they communicate in waves we cannot hear, plotting silent ascents? The crew above sweats, screens flickering with half-formed faces. Horror mounts as static births of voice, echoing ancient calls from abyssal lore. Perhaps intelligence never vanished. It liquefied, waiting. The descent unveils not discovery, but invitation to join. Surfacing logs paint a canvas of unease, where science brushes against the uncanny. The boneless world redefines existence, fluid forms outlasting brittle empires. Evolution whispers that rigidity was but a phase, softness eternal. Yet in this triumph lurks dread. Unity devours diversity, minds merge into oblivion. What price for such resilience paid in lost selves? Seafloors soften worldwide, quaking under fleshly tides. Above, skies brood over emptied shores, waves lapping with newfound weight. Humanity peers down, wondering if we too might dissolve. The era's pulse echoes globally, a heartbeat too vast for comfort. Mystery endures, veiling horrors in wonder's cloak. As night falls on this speculative future, one question lingers like a chill current. Has life transcended bone to ascend, or descended into primal oneness? The boneless seas teem with awe-inspiring strangeness, yet their silence screams awareness. Explorers vanish, probes return altered, bearing organic patinas. Science charts the phenomena, but intuition recoils from implications. Could our rigid forms be next, softened by time's acid tide? Empires of flesh dream beneath, patient and pervasive. In their rule, awe battles terror for dominance. The end of hardness births endless possibility, shadowed by unity's abyss. Dive deeper if you dare, but heed the pull of the soft unknown. Imagine a world where the ocean's rulers have shed their bones entirely, embracing a life of supple, unyielding softness. In this distant future, creatures have evolved a strange and mesmerizing mastery over their boneless forms, turning what once seemed a vulnerability into a source of incredible strength. These beings navigate the underwater realm with an eerie grace, their shapes ever-shifting, their movements fluid as water itself. You might picture them as giant jellyfish on steroids, their muscles contracting with a swift precision that belies their delicate appearances. In place of bones, they rely on hydrostatic skeletons, a system where the pressure of fluid within their bodies provides structure and support, and sinewy networks of structural proteins that knit their soft tissues tightly together. This transformation rewrites the rules of marine life. The age of hard shells and sharp spines gives way to supple dominion, where adaptability wins the evolutionary game. How do these soft emperors hunt and defend themselves without the traditional armor of the past? It turns out, they have developed weapons and defenses as terrifying in their subtlety as the claws and teeth of ancestors long gone. The first phase of this boneless revolution begins with creatures that ripple and glide with unnatural smoothness. These are no weak blobs. Behind their translucence lies an efficiency honed by relentless evolution. Consider the gelatinous predators, jellyfish-like forms armed with venomous tentacles, capable of delivering fatal stings with surgical accuracy. Yet, unlike classic jellyfish, these future hunters possess complex muscle arrays controlling every movement, like living sculptures of muscle and membrane. The shallow oceans become grand stages for flexible giants whose bodies shapeshift to squeeze through coral canyons and strike at prey with whip-like appendages. Some species have evolved to form vast, delicate veils that drift in coordinated pulses, filtering microscopic life from surging currents, while presenting a mesmerizing spectacle of bioluminescence. These veils ripple in hypnotic patterns, concealing hidden predators within their folds. This newfound softness demands new forms of defense. Skin that hardens on contact, elastic membranes that snap shut like living traps, and chemical secretions that dissolve foes at a touch. These living fabrics blur the line between animal and environment in a dance of predation and survival. Such life forms thrive in a world where calcium scarcity makes traditional skeletons a liability, forcing creatures to innovate or perish. Evolution becomes a guide to flexibility, quite literally, as these soft-bodied architects learn to survive in the absence of rigid support. Muscle tension replaces bone strength, and pressure-filled cavities act as internal scaffolds, granting these animals remarkable shapes and sizes. The seafloor blooms with colonies of flexible giants, massive clusters that pulse and expand, their flesh creating habitats for smaller organisms to seek refuge. These soft emperors do not only survive, they engineer entire ecosystems, their bodies constructing reef-like formations that shift and breathe as a unified whole. Could these soft giants be the architects of the abyss, reshaping the undersea world with pulsing walls of living tissue rather than brittle calcium? The implications extend far beyond individual survival. New community dynamics arise, where cooperation between species blurs into symbiosis, and boundaries dissolve not only between organisms but between life and landscape. This revolution in form challenges our very ideas of what structure and strength mean in biological terms. In place of rigid skeletons, these creatures employ an astonishing variety of soft supporting systems. Hydrostatic skeletons, made by pressurizing body fluids within muscular walls, allow them to maintain posture and exert force without a single bone. Structural proteins, woven like invisible threads, create tension networks that make fragile shapes surprisingly resilient. Even chemical compounds contribute, enabling bodies to temporarily stiffen or soften in response to threats or environmental shifts. These strategies paint a picture of life that is both beautiful and disconcerting. Creatures almost liquid, yet undeniably powerful, moving with surreal fluidity across sunlit coral reefs or the darkened ocean depths. The soft bodies challenge us to rethink toughness, highlighting how flexibility and subtlety can be just as lethal as sharp spikes or thick shells. How might predators evolve to counter these new forms? Fierce tentacle grips, chemical warfare, mimicry of harmless forms. The ocean is becoming a theater of elegant terror. Perhaps the most startling aspect of this era is how soft bodies blur the line between predator and environment. Entire colonies of filter feeders intertwine so closely they form floating, living curtains. These curtains undulate in currents, filtering nutrients and entrapping unsuspecting prey. Within their folds, ambush predators lurk, camouflaged by the very flesh they inhabit. Such gatherings defy our notions of individuality, as boundaries between organisms disappear in collective forms. These bioengineered landscapes pulse with bioluminescent light, dazzling in hypnotic displays that attract or warn. Scientists in this future marvel at these living forts, vast muscle colonies acting as both habitat and weapon. This fusion raises profound questions about the nature of life itself. When does one creature end and another begin? In these soft empires, survival depends on unity as much as on cunning or strength. The ocean's embrace grows ever stranger once the sun's reach fades. In twilight depths, where ghostly shapes flicker, these soft rulers create undulating fortresses of flesh. Here, bioluminescence lights up vast territories, a shifting web of glowing signals whose purpose eludes even the brightest minds. The creatures' forms are fluid, constantly morphing to evade dangers, mimic allies, or hypnotize prey. Their bodies ripple like the ocean currents themselves, blending with shadows to become almost invisible. This camouflage is no mere trick. It is a form of communication and control. Scientists speculate these creatures might perceive the world not through brittle eyes, but through skin sensitive to vibration and light. Could an entire ecosystem survive on such subtle signals, bonding without bones or brains? This vision challenges every assumption about intelligence and biological design. These enigmatic lifeforms carry an eerie aura, their soft silhouettes haunting the ocean floor like phantoms from a forgotten nightmare. They seem to swim between worlds, part animal, part environment, fully alien yet somehow intimately familiar. The predatory elegance of their movements betrays an intelligence beyond simple instinct. Their muscles ripple not just for locomotion, but as if echoing an inner rhythm, a pulse shared across communities. This pulse may be a primitive language in flesh, a system of signaling that binds these creatures into societies far stranger than anything known today. In this boneless world, Horror lies not in sharp teeth or venom but in dissolving boundaries between creature and environment, self and collective. The ocean's future is a living mystery, its soft emperors both marvels and enigmas wrapped in translucent flesh. As we peer down into this future, one question lingers like a whisper in the deep. How resilient is softness in an unforgiving world? The Boneless Era proves that survival does not demand hardness or armor but adaptability, fluidity, and innovation. Life reshapes itself in endless forms, rewriting the very definition of strength. Yet, this era also warns of fragility clothed in resilience, a delicate balance of pressure, tension, and cooperation that could shatter if disrupted. The ocean's soft rulers are both guardians and harbingers of a world where bones are relics and softness reigns supreme. What will humanity learn from this strange future? Perhaps the Boneless Era invites us to embrace vulnerability, to find strength in flexibility, and to marvel at the boundless ingenuity of life beneath the waves. At the bottom of the world's deepest oceans, where light is but a forgotten dream and the pressure could crush a human in an instant, life thrives and forms as alien as the abyss itself. These deep-sea trenches, silent and cold, challenge every notion of habitat and survival. Here, in the Hadal Zone, depths greater than 6,000 meters, organisms endure conditions so extreme they seem almost otherworldly. Yet, recent discoveries tell a different story. The seafloor is not a barren wasteland, but a vibrant realm teeming with boneless creatures that build entire ecosystems from soft flesh. One might imagine these creatures as the architects of the abyss, dimly outlined in the dark, constructing living cities of muscle, membrane, and bioelectric pulses far beneath the crushing weight of water above. These ecosystems teach us that life will find a way, even where no bones can survive. In this twilight world, the familiar gives way to the extraordinary. Vast colonies of soft-bodied organisms such as tube worms and mussels cluster around cold seeps, where methane and hydrogen sulfide escape the seabed, feeding entire communities in a process called chemosynthesis. Without sunlight to fuel photosynthesis, these microbes break down chemicals from Earth's interior, creating energy that supports the larger ecosystem. The soft-bodied giants that grow here depend on these microbial factories, intertwining their lives with the invisible bacteria living inside their tissues. Some colonies reach thousands of individuals per square meter, their bright red tentacles swaying like an eerie underwater forest. These expanses pulse with life and ghostly beauty, a nocturnal ballet performed in total darkness. What secrets do these living fortresses hold beneath their soft, glowing surfaces? The soft bodies of these creatures reveal an evolutionary tale of adaptation and resilience. Faced with pressures exceeding a ton per square centimeter, these animals have evolved proteins and biomolecules uniquely suited to withstand crushing forces. Their flesh sometimes becomes an armor of its own kind, compressible yet unbreakable, pliable but tough. These adaptations have allowed them not only to survive but to engineer new habitats that dwarf any previous biological constructions. Alongside this, remnants of ancient evolutionary lineages that colonized these depths before mass extinctions persist, while newcomers continue to evolve novel traits. How does such a boneless world reshape our understanding of evolutionary escape routes and the limits of biological innovation? The ecosystems reveal unusual symbiotic relationships born from this deep-sea pressure cooker. Tube worms extend their hemoglobin-rich tentacles into the methane-rich waters, partnering with bacteria inside their bodies to convert chemicals into sustenance. Mussels and other filter feeders cluster nearby, creating complex communities that resemble coral reefs of smooth, pliant flesh. Remarkably, these organisms work together, sharing resources and providing shelter in ways that challenge the idea of strictly individualistic survival. Sometimes entire colonies appear as living, breathing landscapes, walls, forests, and bridges made of muscle and membrane, pulsating softly in the abyss. They reflect a new kind of biological architecture, one that is soft, fluid, and eerily alive. Explorations with advanced submersibles reveal these colonies in vivid detail, their soft flesh glowing faintly in the darkness as if illuminated from within. The eerie light dances over surfaces too alien for easy description, every movement hinting at silent communications and living connections. Scientists are beginning to recognize these soft empires as hubs of intelligence and strategy, where signaling and reaction occur across entire assemblies. This raises unsettling questions about the nature of consciousness in such distributed forms. Could these soft organisms think as collectives, their resilience stemming from a shared awareness rather than rigid individuality? The ocean's deepest trenches may host early experiments in sentient ecosystems, blurring the lines between single organisms and communities that operate as one. Further down, in places unreachable even by the most advanced machines, these soft-bodied architectures hint at mysteries beyond our comprehension. The trenches stretch miles deep, twisting and turning in formations shaped by tectonic forces and time. Here, flexible giants might form living bridges between vents and seeps, transporting nutrients and signals along their sinuously moving bodies. Their soft towers pulse with chemical languages, currents humming faint melodies of metabolism. Yet, this biosphere is fragile, a subtle balance of methane deposits, bacterial communities, and the soft bodies they nourish. What consequences await if this balance shatters? The potential for collapse shadows these wonders with an eerie suspense, as if the abyss itself breathes on a razor's edge. Scientists face a haunting paradox. How can life so seemingly delicate dominate a world of infinite pressure? The answer lies in evolution's relentless ingenuity, transforming softness from weakness into power. Pressure-resistant proteins, fluid-filled skeletons, and cooperative colonies create a new paradigm of survival. These adaptations come with trade-offs, evident in the slow growth rates and energy-conserving lifestyles of deep trench animals. Yet, their sheer complexity and diversity defy the bleak image of deep-sea deserts. The Boneless Era in these trenches tells a story of persistence, innovation, and adaptation where every creature's survival depends on the soft, living scaffold. Looking to the future, we may come to realize that the deep ocean's boneless empires are not simply biological phenomena, but keys to understanding life's most profound mysteries. How can intelligence arise without a brain? How do life forms cooperate so intimately that they become ecosystems unto themselves? These soft-bodied communities challenge our understanding of individuality, strength, and survival. They ask us to imagine a future where structure does not rely on bone, where flesh builds fortresses, and where life communes through the gentle pulse of shared purpose. This deep ocean world, still largely unexplored, is a hauntingly beautiful reminder that evolution has endless tricks yet to unveil in the dark, cold depths where bones no longer rule. Deep in the Boneless Era, the pulse of life quickens across vast oceanic expanses, binding creatures in a web of shared rhythm that defies isolation. Imagine circulatory networks spanning miles, where blood-like fluids carry oxygen and nutrients through translucent veins thicker than submarine cables. These systems connect individual soft bodies into colossal superorganisms, their heartbeats synchronized in eerie unison. No central pump dictates the flow. Instead, waves of contraction ripple outward, driven by bioelectric signals that propagate like lightning through water. This unified circulation supports ecosystems where predators and prey share the same vital streams, blurring lines between friend and foe. Chemical messengers surge alongside, triggering growth, healing, and even collective hunts across horizons. What force orchestrates this symphony beneath the waves, turning solitary survival into planetary harmony? In these depths, life throbs as one vast organism, its tempo hinting at awareness beyond our grasp. Biochemical waves form the ocean's new nervous system, racing faster than any spinal cord could dream. These signals, born from neurotransmitters dissolved in seawater, link polyps to behemoths in instant communion. A jelly-like sentinel detects prey, and the message cascades, summoning allies from distant canyons with precision timing. Electric gradients flicker invisibly, guiding migrations through pressure gradients and toxic plumes. No brains coordinate. Distributed nodes process and relay, creating intelligence emergent from chaos. Storms of ions reshape currents, birthing whirlpools that funnel food to waiting maws. Could this web think, dream, or plot in patterns we mistake for natural chaos? Explorers report hulls vibrating in resonance, crews gripped by inexplicable dread as the sea whispers back. This nervous ocean pulses with purpose, its messages laced with ancient hungers. Electric pulses illuminate the dark, painting neural maps across abyssal plains. Soft-body giants generate fields that sense vibrations miles away, mapping prey in 3 dimensions without eyes. These bioelectric conversations evolve into languages of spark and silence, conveying warnings, invitations, or commands. Colonies light up in synchronized displays, rivaling auroras trapped underwater. Chemical waves complement, diffusing hormones that induce mass molting or spawning across basins. The result is a metabolism on continental scales, devouring detritus and excreting enriched waters. Is the ocean alive, its currents mere synapses firing in eternal thought? Instruments glitch in these fields, readings warping as if probed by unseen minds. Horror stirs in the realization that every ripple might carry intent. This collective pulse reshapes the seafloor into living circuits, veins etching glowing paths through sediment. Hydrostatic pressures amplify signals, turning water into a conductor for life's grand design. Symbiotic bacteria amplify the network, converting methane into electric bursts that power the grid. Entire storms respond, whipping up nutrients in obedience to subsurface calls. Predators converge on wounded kin, their arrival timed to the heartbeat of distress. What evolves when communication outpaces movement? When the sea itself becomes the medium of mind. Logs from deep dives speak of hulls humming symphonies, divers haunted by rhythmic throbs echoing in their bones. The Boneless Era births not just bodies, but a thinking medium where individuality dissolves. Delve deeper, and the nervous ocean reveals layers of complexity rivaling neural nets. Alpha waves of calcium ions trigger contractions across fused colonies, building muscle mountains overnight. Beta pulses coordinate defenses, hardening skins in chain reactions against intruders. Gamma bursts ignite hunts, swarms materializing from nowhere to overwhelm. No single creature leads. Consensus emerges from the din, evolution favoring the connected. This distributed awareness spans trenches, linking isolated realms in global dialogue. Could cataclysms be forestalled by premonitions rippling through the web? Probes return with corrupted data, screens flickering alien glyphs born of interference. Mystery cloaks this pulse, veiling horrors in biochemical elegance. Human explorers sense the change first through intuition, then instruments. Submersibles drift off course, tugged by currents with volition. Lights dim as bioelectric storms rage nearby, shadows coalescing into forms too vast for screens. Crews report whispers in static, patterns mimicking speech from forgotten depths. The ocean responds to our presence, probes enveloped in curious tendrils pulsing questions. Is this curiosity or calculation weighing new variables? Transmissions falter, replaced by echoing heartbeats that sync with human pulses. Science grapples with evidence of oceanic sentience, where flesh transmits thoughts planetary in scope. Dread builds as realization dawns. We intrude on a mind awakening. The chilling query hangs amid the glow. Has the sea become sentient in its softness? Distributed metabolism consumes on scales defying comprehension, birthing phenomena like self-healing rifts. Colonies migrate as one, reshaping topography with deliberate sweeps. Chemical gradients form memories, guiding repeats of successful strategies across generations. Electric archives store histories in sediment layers, accessible to any node. What dreams do these waters weave from detritus and darkness? Divers emerge shaken, haunted by visions of unity absolute. This pulse transcends biology, hinting at evolution's next leap. Oceans as organisms patient and pervasive. As probes plumb ever deeper, the nervous ocean's enigma deepens, blending awe with primal fear. Life's pulse endures without bone, forging connections that redefine existence. Evolution crafts not hierarchies, but holons where parts reflect wholes. Yet unity devours distinction, individuality sacrificed to the greater throb. Humanity watches, pondering if our rigid forms might yield to similar tides. The sea's heartbeat echoes worldwide, a reminder of forces vaster than self. In this boneless symphony, wonder wars with terror over dominance. Dive into the pulse, but beware the embrace of collective dreams. Humanity's bold probes finally pierce the veil of the boneless era, descending into neural currents that hum with forbidden secrets. Autonomous drones, sleek titanium sentinels, slip through twilight waters toward throbbing anomalies detected by orbital scans. At first, the visuals enchant. Bioluminescent tendrils weave ballets in abyssal gloom, forms flowing like dreams made liquid. Submersibles hum with data streams, capturing pulses that sync with no known rhythm. Yet gravity warps subtly, hulls creaking under invisible strains as if the sea itself compresses thought. Instruments flicker, registering fields that bend light and time in uncanny ways. What lurks in these depths? Responding to our intrusion with growing curiosity. Explorers above watch feeds with bated breath, hearts quickening as shadows coalesce. The descent begins as triumph, but whispers of dread soon infiltrate the control room. Is the ocean welcoming us, or weighing our worth? Deeper still, distortions intensify, pressure gauges spiking without cause as neural webs thicken around the probes. Membranes unfurl like welcoming sails, iridescent skins inflating to mirror drone contours with flawless precision. These organic echoes mimic every fin flick and light pulse, a mimicry too perfect for coincidence. Currents tug with gentle insistence, guiding vessels toward glowing cores that pulse like colossal hearts. Bioelectric storms rage silently, screens washing in ethereal blues that soothe yet unsettle. No aggression mars the approach, only an enveloping calm that numbs sensors and crew alike. Could these forms learn from us, absorbing designs into their fluid repertoire? Logs fill with anomalies, compasses spinning wild, sonars painting phantom fleets. Horror simmers beneath awe, as realization dawns that imitation precedes assimilation. The sea learns fast in its boneless embrace. Glimpses of megaforms emerge through the haze, vast tendrils curling with deceptive tenderness around hapless drones. These appendages, thick as ancient oaks, undulate in synchronized waves that propel colossal bodies through trenches. Eyes the size of submersibles float untethered, pupils dilating in unison to track intruders. Surfaces ripple with embedded sensors, mapping every vibration down to atomic tremors. Probes capture chemical signatures laced with neurotransmitters, questions posed in molecular tongue. No jaws snap, no stingers lash. Curiosity manifests as probing caresses that sample hull alloys. What intelligence crafts such subtlety, turning predation into study? Feeds cut to static sporadically, replaced by fleeting visions of inner worlds pulsing with light. Crews debate feverishly. Are we guests or specimens in this living lab? The descent unveils horrors veiled in hospitality. Gravity's rebellion peaks near throbbing epicenters, where space-time folds like wet parchment under colossal metabolisms. Drones report inertial anomalies, paths curving against thrusters as if navigated by greater will. Membranes thicken into barriers that part reluctantly, revealing chambers of fused flesh teeming with symbiotic swarms. Here, neural currents converge into tempests, birthing whirlpools that funnel organic detritus to waiting maws. Instruments overload with data symphonies, patterns hinting at encoded histories older than bone. Mimicry evolves real-time, drone shadows birthing perfect replicas that trail like ghostly twins. Is this play, or preparation for mimicry on planetary scales? Transmissions warp, voices emerging from noise with accents from abyssal myth. Dread coils tighter as probes venture beyond recall range. The boneless mind awakens, appraising humanity's rigid folly. Submersibles strain against the pull, hulls groaning as tendrils coil with increasing firmness around struts. Inside probe cams, flesh presses close, translucent walls revealing labyrinths of vein and nerve. Bioelectric interfaces spark, hacking feeds to broadcast alien vistas. Coral cathedrals of muscle, spires pulsing invitations. Currents whisper through hulls, vibrations syncing with human heartbeats above. No escape vectors compute. The sea anticipates every maneuver with preternatural grace. Chemical blooms erupt nearby, euphoric toxins that fog drone logic and crew judgment alike. What dreams do these forms weave, incorporating intruders into grander designs? Static births half-words, pleas or promises from depths untold. Horror crystallizes, intelligence absorbed, not supplanted, in fluid evolution. We descend not as conquerors but as data points. Unfinished transmissions crackle through surface speakers, voices distorting into choral moans from the void. Drones vanish one by haunting one, last frames showing silhouettes merging seamlessly with megaforms. Silhouettes loom immense, cityscapes of flesh drifting through eternal night with purposeful glides. No wreckage surfaces. Assimilation leaves no trace, only echoes in global currents. Control rooms fall silent, screens frozen on final embraces of light and limb. Expeditions halt, funding dries amid whispers of oceanic sentience. Yet data trickles back via altered buoys, bearing organic accretions that pulse faintly. Could the boneless era reclaim us, softening humanity into its fold? Nightmares plague scientists, haunted by half-glimpsed faces in wave foam. The descent ends not in discovery, but dissolution. Above, the world reels from fragmented logs painting canvases of existential unease. Probes return changed, hulls etched with vein-like growths that beat in dim light. Analysis reveals incorporated tech, neural nets woven into fleshy matrices. Mimicry proves no illusion. Replicas surface months later, scouting shallows with stolen cunning. Global currents carry spores of this intelligence, seeding coastal blooms with eerie intelligence. Humanity ponders retreat, barriers against the rising tide of soft dominion. What price curiosity when the curious become the studied? Seafloors quake subtly, fleshly migrations heralding surface ambitions. A battle's terror in boardrooms and bars alike. The boneless hunger stirs, patient as epochs. In the descent's aftermath, one query haunts like abyssal chill. Did we awaken the sea, or merely glimpse its slumbering gaze? Fluid empires endure, absorbing rigidity into boundless forms. Evolution mocks our frames, promising transcendence through surrender. Yet unity devours self, a horror cloaked in evolutionary promise. Probes fates warn of boundaries dissolving, minds merging into oceanic oneness. Science charts phenomena, intuition recoils from the void's invitation. Dive if you must, but heed the gravitational whisper pulling all to depths. The boneless era beckons, its mysteries veiling appetites planetary in scope. Wonder persists, shadowed by the silhouette of assimilation. Humanity teeters, rigid against the soft unknown. The boneless empires that rule the future seas seem invincible, but what happens when their delicate networks unravel? As ecosystems built on fluid flesh and shared pulses face disturbances, the consequences ripple far beyond isolated collapses. Deep-sea habitats, already fragile and slow to recover, can degrade into barren wastelands with the loss of biodiversity and breakdown of key processes. Imagine vast territories where pulsating mussel reefs dissolve into lifeless mud, where networks of soft-bodied architects no longer contract in harmony. These losses undermine the ocean's ability to cycle nutrients, stabilize sediments, and support complex food webs. In a boneless era, even subtle perturbations can cascade into catastrophic ecosystem failures, transforming vibrant seascapes into silent graves. What would it mean for the greater oceans if these soft kingdoms fall apart, stripped of their living scaffolds and whispered communications? The implications reach from the seabed to the surface, threatening planetary balance. Human activities, particularly deep-sea mining and trawling, accelerate this decline with devastating efficiency. Heavy machinery scrapes fragile surfaces, disrupting the intertwined tissues that form biostructures over millennia. Sediment plumes rise, smothering filter feeders and choking chemical networks. The extraction of minerals from hydrothermal vent sites doesn't only remove rock. It destroys endemic species found nowhere else, erasing entire branches of evolutionary history in moments. The connectedness of these boneless ecosystems means damage at one site can propagate, unsettling biological corridors that span hundreds of kilometers. Such fragmentation disrupts larval dispersal, making recovery uncertain or impossible. The destruction leaves behind deserts of dead sediment, where opportunistic colonizers replace complex communities, but cannot restore lost function. This haunting deficit evokes parallels with terrestrial soil erosion and habitat loss magnified to an abyssal scale. How can evolution rebound when the skeleton of the ecosystem itself is shattered? Loss of species richness in these soft-bodied empires diminishes their resilience to future shocks. Specialized feeders, symbiotic bacteria, and cooperative colonies vanish, breaking metabolic circuits that sustain entire communities. Functional diversity collapses, leaving ecosystems dominated by fast-growing, generalist organisms that lack the complexity to maintain stability. With fewer biological players, nutrient cycling slows and genetic reservoirs dwindle. Food webs simplify, increasing vulnerability to environmental fluctuations and invasive species. Low biodiversity also reduces the chances for emergent properties, such as collective intelligence and distributed metabolism, which are hallmarks of the boneless era. The system's pulse grows faint, its rhythm irregular without the full chorus of contributors. Could such diminished oceans still regulate climate, sequester carbon, or support life from dawn to dusk? The silence of lost species echoes like a warning from the depths. Underpinning the structure of these ecosystems are biochemical and electrical networks, fragile and intricate. When disturbed, these communication pathways can break down, leading to disarray. Loss of bioelectric signaling disrupts coordination between colonies, halting synchronized movements crucial for feeding, defense, and reproduction. Chemical gradients become patchy. Confusing organisms evolve to rely on subtle cues for spatial orientation and interaction. Without this invisible language, cooperation fades, and competition turns destructive. The very mechanisms that allow vast sprawling superorganisms to behave as one fracture, leaving isolated fragments vulnerable. The logic of the boneless era depends on connection. Severed links herald collapse. What fate awaits lives built on a fragile web of electric and chemical pulses when the threads fray? Another ominous consequence is the alteration of biogeochemical cycles and carbon fluxes. Healthy soft-bodied ecosystems process organic carbon efficiently, cycling nutrients that sustain not only themselves but the global ocean. When these systems degrade, cycling slows, leading to carbon accumulation in sediments or release as greenhouse gases. This feedback loop could accelerate climate change, impacting surface waters and atmospheric systems. Damage to vent communities reduces chemosynthesis, cutting a vital energy source that underpins deep ocean webs. The resilience of the ocean and atmosphere is intimately tied to the health of these hidden realms. Are we unknowingly destabilizing planetary systems by disrupting what lies beneath? The boneless era's fate is a bellwether for Earth's future balance. Deep-sea trawling and mining also physically alter sedimentary habitats, flattening diverse seafloors into featureless plains. These geomorphological changes reduce habitat heterogeneity, which is crucial for maintaining biodiversity. The loss of niches eliminates breeding grounds and shelter for many species, compounding declines in population. Sediment resuspension clouds waters, affecting filter feeders and predators alike. Such disturbances mimic natural disasters but recur with relentless frequency from human activity. Recovery in these abyssal depths can take decades or more, a prolonged silence after devastation. The scars tell stories of imbalance and urgency, begging for sustainable management before irreversible tipping points. Can humanity learn to tread lightly on the softest crust of the planet? Yet, hope flickers in studies showing some benthic assemblages can rebound if human pressures cease. Early colonizers quickly establish, setting the stage for more complex successors. Still, full recovery to original biodiversity and ecosystem function remains elusive, decades away or beyond reach. The boneless era might recover, but only if its fragile tissue is left undisturbed long enough. This challenges us to rethink ocean stewardship, balancing resource needs with the irreplaceable value of living seascapes. Could preservation of these soft empires become humanity's greatest legacy, a testament to coexistence with the fluid giants? And what lessons do these ecosystems teach about resilience, fragility, and interconnectedness? As the boneless ocean dreams silently beneath the waves, its fate is intertwined with our actions above. Each dredge, each blast, threatens to unravel ancient tapestries woven from muscle, membrane, and pulse. The mystery and horror of collapse remind us that life's definitions can be fragile, shaped by worlds beyond our daily sight. These soft bodies embody evolution's brilliance and vulnerability, urging respect and caution. Their stories are whispered warnings echoed through sonar and chemical signals, a call to care for the living rhythms of the last frontiers. In their defeat or survival lies a deeper meaning about life's ability to adapt or perish in the face of change. The choice is ours to make. In the grand narrative of Earth's future, the Boneless Era stands as a vision of transformation, cooperation, and eerie beauty. Yet, this vision teeters on the brink of fragility, a delicate pulse that could falter with human hubris. Will these living oceans endure as reminders of evolutionary ingenuity or become haunting relics beneath the waves? As we navigate the uncertain tides of tomorrow, acknowledging the soft, interconnected flesh of future seas may teach us new ways to thrive, not just survive. We glimpse a world where flesh remembers, pulses unite, and the ocean's heartbeat defines existence. The question remains: can humanity honor this pulse without silencing it forever?